I thought I was broken. My major struggle was to focus on one thing, but over the years that has proven to be difficult. I have multiple deep passions: personal development, sewing, tech, DIY, spirituality, houseplants, you name it. I spend so much time tearfully journaling with God, asking Him and wondering why I cannot focus on one thing to do with my life. Why do I have a burning desire to do so many things? Until I read an article that spoke about multi-passionate entrepreneurs, and that was my light bulb moment. But getting things done as a multi-passionate perfectionist has been pretty difficult, to say the least, but it's doable. We live in a world where we're expected to produce results at the time and convenience of others, and in return, that cripples us with anxiety and self-defeat. Adding on to the fact that I'm a perfectionist has made things pretty difficult to get things done. I do not see my perfectionism as a weakness, as I would always push myself to be and produce the best that I can at anything that I do. I truly believe that every multi-passionate has something special, having this relentless drive to be great at everything that they do and pushing themselves to do more. The only downfall will be pushing things off that needs to get done in a timely manner, or not even getting started at all. For example, it took me months to design my website unpeakpotential.co, and that is because I wanted it to be perfect so that it can represent me the way I want to be represented. And in return, it has made me push back the launch date for my new business. But really, that is unrealistic because nothing can ever be perfect. When people talk about perfectionism, it's almost exclusively used in the disapproval sense, focusing on having people work on overcoming in order to create their desired work life and get things done. In my opinion, this in return makes us not feel good enough, and it makes us feel like something is wrong with us. But I believe that if you're ever called a perfectionist, I actually think that's a good thing. Well, if managed correctly. Don't start obsessing about making mistakes, letting others down, or holding yourself to impossibly high standards that can inevitably have negative consequences like burnout and depression. Use it to your advantage and understand that that is often where our genius comes from. I've let perfectionism and focusing on too many things at once cripple me in the worst way possible, where for many years I've had projects that have failed to get off the ground, where I haven't even started, failed businesses because I was scatterbrained and I did not focus 100% on one thing at a time. I start something and in the middle of it I get inspired and I drop it and go ahead and start something else. You see the pattern here? I'm sure I'm not the only one. It can be difficult to draw the line, and if it's not perfection that I'm aiming for, then what is it that I'm working towards? So I want to talk about how we can harness our perfectionist tendencies as multi-passionate perfectionists in order to calm our minds down and get things done. So when it comes to being a multi-passionate perfectionist, we have a hard time balancing between focusing on a few goals and exploring our newfound interests. If success required focus and execution, I didn't see a clear path for any one multi-passionate perfectionist like me, but I did my research. I read, I watched YouTube videos, I learned from other multi-passionate entrepreneurs so that I can have a clear understanding on what it means to actually be one. I have found that for years I have been a maladaptive perfectionist, which is the worst kind, and I'm currently working on slowly becoming an adaptive perfectionist. If you constantly find yourself in a state of self-criticism and self-sabotage, you're most likely a maladaptive perfectionist like I was, and that has seriously held me back for a very long time. Whereas an adaptive perfectionist is someone that derives a satisfaction from small achievements and can tolerate imperfections. Just really realizing that we use our perfectionism as an excuse to just not get things done or not get started. You're never really ready to shoot that first YouTube video, you don't have the best setup, or you don't have a good corner to sit and write your new blog post, or there's this new thing that you want to start doing, but you don't have all your eggs in a row before you get started. And that is because you just want everything to be perfectly in place before you get started. And that really is the main issue of perfectionists when it comes to executing certain projects. There are a few things that you can do that can help you get things done as a multi-passionate perfectionist. Manage potential distractions by writing it down. Find a good note-taking system that works for you. Personally, I use Notion, Apple Notes, and the good old school pen and paper. Work in sprints and not marathons. Having discovered the importance of deep work and setting time blocks for specific tasks that you can do undisturbed for short periods of time has really helped me focus heavily on one specific thing at a time, and therefore has allowed me to produce the best that I can do with what I'm doing at the time, and has in return helped me with my perfectionist tendencies. Ask yourself a few questions. How does the new you feel like at the end of each workday? Feeling accomplished, feeling productive, feeling less overwhelmed because you've broken down your day in bits and pieces so that you can get things done? Do you feel good that you ticked off most of the things off your to-do list? And when you're doing things throughout the day, is it actually activities that's helping you get closer to reaching your goals? How does an ideal work day or regular day look to you? And lastly, creating realistic goals. I know the saying of create goals and dreams that scare you, and if they don't scare you, then they're not big enough. That's fine, that can be your long-term goals. But create realistic short-term goals that you can allow yourself to do, and give yourself a timestamp so that you know how long it'll take you to get a specific thing done. Because us as humans, we don't necessarily know how to calculate how long a specific task takes, and that in return makes us overjudge or over plan and give ourselves too much work to do in a given day. And when we don't get it done, we tend to feel defeated and not accomplished, and that decreases our morale and not have us feel motivated to get it going the following day. Choose what to focus on. And no, I'm not doing everything all at once, but I have, however, built a strategy and a plan that allows me to break down and see the important goals that I'm currently working on, and the goals that I can push forward to do at a later stage. Try this. At the beginning of every day, write down 3 things that you want to complete, personal goals, and 3 things that you want to complete that are business goals, and focus on just doing that throughout the day. And do not go to sleep until you get that done. That will allow you to have less things on your to-do list, so you can feel less overwhelmed and therefore focus on very specific tasks. If there is one thing that I recommend you take away from this video, it'd be this. No matter what you're working on, whether it be starting a new YouTube channel, or you want to finally start that blog of yours, or there's this podcast that you want to start recording, remember that it is okay for you to do the best and strive to be the best at whatever it is that you're doing at the time. However, it is also okay to have imperfections. Please don't find yourself spiraling in a never-ending loop of perfectionism. Don't let that hold you back from being your greatest self. It's okay to start before you're ready. Just get things rolling. So go ahead and obsess about your work while you're doing your work, and strive to be the best that you can be with the limited time that you have. But remember, just take one step at a time until you reach the finish line, and go ahead and be your greatest self.